The first step we are going to take is to take a step back and to try to understand the prospect we are sending cold emails to at a deeper level. And the most important thing to understand and keep in mind is that the people we are sending emails to are getting a lot of emails from salespeople who are trying to sell something. And with that, the more an email looks like it's from a salesperson trying to sell something, the quicker that email will get deleted. If you agree with that, then by decreasing how much we look like a salesperson trying to sell something, we can slow down and decrease how quickly our emails get deleted. In a previous training module, we talked about product selling and compared that to consultative selling. Most salespeople use a more product selling approach for their cold email messages. And I base that conclusion primarily on my own experience as being a business owner who receives a lot of cold emails from salespeople. And 90% or more of these emails use a product selling approach. And to show you this, I've created a simplified example of the structure that all of these emails align with, and they go something like this. Hello, Michael. I'm with Websites Redesigned for You. We provide web design, graphic design, web hosting. Are you looking to redo your website? Are you available for a quick call? Now, most emails are much longer than that and have more information, but the structure is generally the same, which is, this is the company I'm with. This is what we sell. Do you need what I sell? Are you interested in what I sell? And there are a few things that make this type of email less than optimum. The first being, this flags the sender as being a salesperson who's trying to sell something. The other thing that's wrong with this email is that it's important to understand that the prospects we're sending emails to are likely not in buying mode at the exact time that they receive and read our email. And I'm not saying that they do not need our product or that they cannot be persuaded to buy our product. The point here is that at the exact time they're looking at our email, they are most likely not Googling and researching the product or service that you sell. With that, when you send a cold email that uses a product selling approach, there's more likely to be a mismatch between what you're trying to do and wanting to talk about and where the prospect is at. Not only can that trigger an instant delete, but it also drives the prospect to a logical conclusion that I understand what you sell and I don't need what you sell, so there's no reason for me to reply to your email. Another problem with a product selling email is that it aligns with the last step of the sales process, which is selling the product. And that is not the next sales process step, because in most situations, you cannot sell your product or service over email. The next sales process step is to simply have a conversation in the form of an appointment or a meeting, and you can design your cold email to focus more on that. And I want to actually go back because I did include in that email a close for a call, which many product selling cold emails include. And you could say, well, this email is trying to close the next step in the sales process. And while that is a little bit correct, I would make the argument that if we're trying to schedule a call or a conversation for me to talk about selling my product, that close is still aligned with the last sales process step of selling the product. If you're truly selling the conversation, you're not proposing the opportunity to talk more to sell your product. You're proposing the opportunity to talk more to learn more about the prospect and maybe let them know more about you. And as I mentioned, I get a lot of cold emails every day. And I started making notes for what all these salespeople do that tells me as a prospect that it's a salesperson trying to sell something and that I can instantly delete this email. And here are 7 things that I recommend you avoid in your cold emails. And the first is, I hope you're doing well. Just about all of the cold emails I receive start out with some version of I hope you're doing well. And if I see an email from someone that I do not know and they start out by hoping that I'm doing well, I know this is an email that I can delete. The second is, I'm following back up with you. When I receive a cold email from someone that I don't know and they start out by letting me know that they're following up on a previous message that they've sent to me that I have not replied to, that tells me very quickly that the person sending the email is a salesperson and I can delete their message. The third is starting out their email with a question asking if I've received their previous emails. Not only does this tell me that they are a salesperson trying to sell something. But I personally believe this is more of a nagging question with little to be gained by knowing the actual answer to the question you're asking. And I recommend not doing this because you stand to annoy and decrease rapport with the person that you're trying to sell to. The fourth is starting out with an acknowledgement that the prospect is busy or some sort of apology for bothering the prospect. Not only does this flag you as a salesperson, but it makes you look like a weak salesperson who possibly does not have much value to offer the prospect. Be confident in the product you sell and the value you have to offer, and don't apologize for bothering the prospect. A fairly new trend in cold emails that I've witnessed is in the past few years, salespeople have been sending their follow-up emails by letting me know that they're bumping up their previous email in my inbox. For me personally, I find this completely annoying. Not only does this flag you as a salesperson, but it does not soften your approach or make the prospect feel better or warm up your email by letting me know that you're bumping up an email that I ignored. Just send your next email. Some salespeople will be very direct, and in their cold email, they will ask me if I'm interested in what they sell. And not only is this not completely logical because buying the product is likely not the next step, and I probably can't purchase their product over email, but saying anything in this direction flags you as a salesperson. And the last is I get a lot of emails from salespeople who will mention having a quick question. Either they put quick question in the subject line, or the first sentence of the email mentions that they have a quick question. And if I receive an email like this from someone who I do not know, I know that they are a salesperson, and I quickly delete their email. Another thing that we can do to control or improve how quickly our emails are getting deleted is by minimizing the length and word count of our emails. And it's very simple. The longer your email, the quicker your email will be deleted. So the shorter we make our cold emails, we improve their position for success. And my recommendation is type out the message that you want to send and then review every word and every sentence and try to think about if that is needed in order to get your point across. And it's important to understand and keep in mind that the person you're sending emails to is likely extremely busy. And the way to take that into consideration and optimize our strategy is to plan to send multiple emails to the contact out of the gate. And sending multiple cold emails to our prospects is not a revolutionary idea. Most salespeople that I don't respond to send me multiple emails. And what that looks like is that email one is usually, as I mentioned, a product selling email. When I don't respond to that email, then at some point later, they will send their follow-up email. And almost 100% of the time, email number two is not only also a product selling email, usually it is the same email as number one with just the addition of I'm following back up, or I'm bumping this email up in your inbox, or did you read the email below? And then the second email is just a repeat of the first email. And sometimes they stop there, but in many cases, it then goes on to have a third follow-up email, which does the exact same thing. So the common approach is one product selling email that's sent multiple times. What we are going to do is we're going to send multiple emails, but we're going to go about this a completely different way. And since we're trying to get you away from product selling and using more of a consultative selling approach, we can use different elements from our consultative selling sales message to have something to send to the prospect other than product selling emails. So for email one, we could send a value points email. And for many reasons, the prospect may not respond to that. And for a follow-up email, we can then send a pain points email. We can then send a customer example email, a pain questions email. Then in email five, we can start to get to an email that talks about the product or service that we sell. And then we can come back to our value points for an email number six. Not only does this approach allow us to continue to reach out to these busy prospects and increase our odds of getting their attention, but this approach allows us to divide our message and the story we want to tell across many different emails, which not only allows us to educate the prospect on who we are and why they should talk to us, but this also helps us to keep our emails short because we don't have to tell them everything in just one or two emails. We know on day one, we're going to be sending a complete set or a complete campaign of emails. and we can then use those emails to spoon feed the prospect small servings of the story that we want to tell them. And I'm not saying this approach is perfect and works every time, but hopefully you can see how this strategy might be more effective and more optimum than just sending a product selling cold email message multiple times to the same prospect. And now I'm actually going to show you what each of these emails look like. And so that first email is a cold email that is built around the value points building block. And we actually use one of the individual value points as the subject line, which should be a good subject line. If you create a list of benefits and those benefits are compelling to the person you're sending a cold email to, one of those benefits should be a good subject line. Then a few points about how the email starts out. Notice that I'm not saying, I hope you're doing well. I'm also not mentioning who I am and the company I work for. And I do that for a couple different reasons. First of all, to take a whole sentence to say who I am and the company I work for is a waste of words. Remember, we're trying to minimize the word count. So why spend that valuable real estate mentioning who I am and the company I work for? Because that information is in my email signature. Then the centerpiece to the cold email messages are the benefits we can deliver with our product or service. We then go on to share a soft sales takeaway, which is something we discussed in our cold calling training module. This is optional. You could leave it out if you don't like it, or you could leave it out to decrease the word count or use that space for something else. But the soft sales takeaway is designed to decrease the prospect's guardedness and possibly increase their curiosity. Then we go for the close at the end of the email, and we're not closing for seeing if the prospect wants or is interested in the product or service we sell. We're closing for the next step in our sales process, which is simply talking more. So a couple quick things here. First of all, you may look at that and say that it doesn't say anything about the product or service that we sell and how we deliver these benefits. And that is intentional and on purpose for a couple reasons. First of all, by leaving that out, we decrease how much we look like a salesperson who's trying to sell something. We also are not trying to sell the product. We're trying to sell the conversation, so we don't need to mention the product. By leaving that out, we also are able to minimize the word count. And we know we're going to send additional emails after this, and we can get to some of those details later. But certainly you can add those details. And I'm not saying that this cold email template is perfect and that you should use it exactly as is. This is more designed to be a starting place for you to build on. So take this template and add any details that you want. And the only suggestion I have is to make sure you keep the word count to a minimum and minimize how much you look like a salesperson trying to sell something. Now, me personally, I have this cold email in my cold email campaign, and I'll just show you an example of one modification I've made to this cold email. And that is that I've added a sentence at the bottom where I include a link that the prospect can click to download one of my ebooks. And I do this for two reasons. First of all, the ebook offers value to the contact or to the prospect. So by including this, I'm giving the prospect value instead of trying to take from the prospect by trying to sell my product. But more importantly, most systems that send cold email messages out will track when the recipients click on links. And that's extremely valuable data to see who's engaging with your cold email messages and using that to figure out which contacts you might want to spend your valuable time calling. We can use that exact same structure and just replace the value points with our pain points building block to create a pain points cold email message. We can also use our customer example building block to create a cold email message by basically building an email around an example of another customer that we've helped with our product or service. We can use our pain questions building block to create a cold email message by listing out some of the questions we would like to ask the prospect. We then progress to an email that is using our product building block. And this is an email that leans more towards product selling. But in our approach, we send this email towards the end of the email campaign. That is different than the average salesperson who sends this email, the product selling email, as email 1, and then repeats this email for email 2 and email 3 in most cases. We then go back and recycle the value points building block for email 6, and this is designed to be somewhat of a last attempt and possibly a walk away email. And so that's an example of how to tie these 6 cold email templates together. And again, I'm not saying these emails are perfect or this structure is perfect for an email campaign. This is more of a starting place and a structure for you to build on. For example, my personal email campaign takes these 6 emails and I've turned that into 9 cold email messages. So certainly adjust this and build on it as it makes sense for your particular situation and product or service. And whether you use our cold email templates or use your own, you can either send those out one at a time through your inbox, or there are a lot of different software applications that allow you to automate the delivery of those emails. And I'm going to show you some email automation functionality inside of SalesScripter to give you ideas of what you should look for and think about when looking for email automation software. And in SalesScripter, we have an area here called the Sales Playbook and a folder for email templates. The software automatically generates all of those email templates that I just showed you. Here's your value email, pain email, customer example, and so on. And we actually put all of those emails together to create what we refer to as an email thread. And here is the email thread that I just showed you, filled in with your sales message. And in terms of email automation, in our CRM feature of SalesScripter, we have a feature here called email campaigns. And what you can do is you can create a new campaign. And if you want to create a campaign that's built around using the email templates that I just showed you, it's very easy to do by just selecting that template or that email thread, and the software then loads up and creates an email campaign using all of those different email templates. And you can easily add additional emails or delete any of these emails or edit any of these emails to make them your own. And to show you how I've made one of these email campaigns my own, here is my email campaign using the 6 email templates that I showed you as a starting place. And you can see here I've added a link and a little bit of additional text to each email to make them my own, and have added additional emails. Now, one thing that you might want to look for with your email automation software is to make sure that your software will track who's opening your emails and who's clicking on links. And SalesScripter does that. I'll just show you here, like here's this bell notification at the top, and you can see here that we're being notified of these contacts who open different emails, and we're notified of the links they click on. And that data is really helpful here, because if I go to one of these lists here for my target prospects, here's a list of directors of sales and sales managers. And so here I have a list of about 2,600 contacts, and you'll see here a column to the far right that says quality points. We are able to take that data of email opens and clicks and associate a point system with those activities. So if a prospect opens an email, we give them 1 quality point. If a prospect clicks on a link, we give them 3 quality points. And so as we're sending our emails, some of the prospects we're emailing are engaging with our emails, and we're able to see that and track that with our quality points. So we can see here all of these quality points for these prospects, and I'll show you the real power in this by going to the bottom of the list. And you'll see there's actually prospects on our list with either no quality points or negative quality points. And that data is extremely helpful, because if we were just launching an email campaign or calling down a call list, we might call these prospects. And these are prospects that for some reason are not interested at all. And it's helpful to know that before we spend our valuable time picking up the phone and calling them. So we know to ignore these prospects, and that it makes sense to spend our valuable time calling these prospects. And there could be a chance that when we call these prospects, it'll be a warm call and they'll know who we are. They've obviously opened our emails, read our emails, and clicked on different links in our emails. And one last thing I want to show you here inside of SalesScripter is a feature called Email Guesser. And whether you know this or not, you can actually guess your prospect's email address, because in the B2B sales world, most corporate email addresses are some combination of first name, last name, at then the domain or website address for that company. And if you have those 3 pieces of information, you could test a combination and send your email to a prospect. And if it bounces back, Then you try a different combination until the email stops bouncing back, and that will work to help you to figure out your prospect's email address. Although, as you can see, it's a bit cumbersome and time consuming. And we actually solve that with our feature here called Email Guesser, because what we do is if you have the first name, last name, and website address for your prospect, our software will do a test ping on all of the most common combinations of those three values to tell you what the email address is for that prospect. And then you can very easily just click a button to create a contact record in the CRM, and all you have to do is hit save and then add that contact to your cold email campaign. So within a matter of seconds, you can go from looking at a contact's profile on LinkedIn, grab their first name, last name, company website address, and in a matter of seconds, they are loaded up on your cold email campaign and scheduled to receive all of your cold email messages. And that is actually how we've loaded all of these contacts into our CRM. Is we found all of these directors of sales and inside sales managers simply by doing searches on LinkedIn, use the email guesser, get their email address, then add them to our CRM and to our email campaign. And you can see here by quality points, we have then used that process to generate all of this interest and all of these leads. And that is pretty much it. The next module in this training program is module 8, where we will talk about how best to leave voicemail messages when you're reaching out to prospects. If you have questions or want more information, the best place to go is salescripter.com. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.